Well, good morning, Liberal Kansas, Southwest Kansas, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and all other places where you tune in to get your news and views from the middle of America. This is World Leader in Times on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. Joining me as always, Jim Rice, who came in maybe with a rowboat, maybe with an oar. It's wet out there. You probably heard the thunder and lightning last night.
It's still raining. You can hear it a little bit, but I had about 30 hundredths in the gauge this morning, as near as I could tell in the dark. So, but it looks like a lot more than that, and I think it's just because of all the rain we've had. So we're kind of getting soaked up. Even noticed the drought map is kind of off of us now. So we're doing better.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it was all-nighter, if you want to say that. I mean, it just steady and kind of hovered, and the lightning and thunder. It was a real bit of a storm, but it's not to the point you're going to have any problems navigating through town or anything like that. I don't know what it's going to be like out on the dirt roads, but
it'll just be muddy. You know, that's one of the benefits of living out in the county. You get mud on your car, and then get down and get it washed off.
And then drive back home and get it
back on. And then drive back home and get it muddy again. That's right.
But it was going to be a little bit cooler of a morning, I can tell you that, when you go out.
Yeah.
Not like it's been. I mean, there's been some really cool.
Yeah, there's some time to dig out a long sleeve shirt.
Yep. And I even had to have a jacket on at the ball game the other night. I mean, it was cool. My hands, my knees got cold, my toes were getting cold. I'm like, it's the first game of the year.
Just a sign of things to come.
Yep. There's, I'm a fan. I'm a proponent of global warming. I'm not against it. I don't know why people fight that. I like it when the globe is warm. I don't like a cold one.
That's what I want to do. I want to find a place about 65 degrees, 68 degrees all year round, and that's where I want to go.
And I'm worried if we try to find some way to mess with the weather, we're gonna mess it up and freeze this ball into ice. And I'd rather, if I'm going to try to survive, I'd rather try to survive with the sun shining.
Hopefully the government ain't in charge of the weather, because it'll be fouled up too.
But it's still going to be, I think, a nice morning when you get out there and experience that. So get out there and do that. Put a chart in the paper yesterday, so if you didn't get a copy, go out and get a copy. They're available at grocery stores, at convenience stores, even Walmart. When you first walk in and you look right to your left.
Right to your left.
Right to your left. You will see a rack. And not a rack like outside, but a wire rack that has the paper on it. You get there. But we explained, some of the differences, because some people get confused about who pays for what, as far as, do I have to pay for rural fire even though I live in the city? No, you don't. The county people who live outside the city have a totally separate mill just for fighting fires.
Yep.
And then if you live out in the county, you say, but do I have to pay for the city fire? No.
Yep.
City fire is only paid for by the residents within the city limits. So that's just an example of how a department like that is separated by those who live in the city and those who live outside the city. They're taxed differently. Yep. But when you look at almost everything else, I think they list 18 departments that the county is required by law to provide, that those are funded by all of us, because we're all Seward County residents. Even if you live in the city of Kismet, you're also a Seward County resident. If you live in the city of Liberal, you're also a Seward County resident. So you will be paying for those 18 other departments, or 17 if you don't count rural fire. So we understand that obligation, and no one's shucking it. No one's saying we shouldn't do that. Of course we should. The county treasurer, the county clerk, all of the offices it takes to run the county, we understand we need those, and it's important. And we pay for those. No one is saying we shouldn't pay for those. What I think is a proposal right now, what has some people up in arms is, on top of dealing with this deal with the Conestoga plant, that there's also been a proposal for a $2.2 million tax increase And at the same, so that's number two. Then number three is also proposing a 1/2 cent sales tax on top of that for another $2.5 million a year, or $25 million, because once you voted, it's a 10-year deal.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what has some people up in arms of being also confused, because they've said, well, won't that 1/2 cent sales tax make my streets better in town? No.
Nope.
No.
Won't help a bit.
The money that helps keep the streets better in town is the 1 cent sales tax that we already have. And 60% of it is streets, drainage, and capital improvements. So we have a sales tax here to do that. This additional tax will not do anything for a city street, nor should it. That's not what's being proposed.
Yep.
What's being proposed is a 1/2 cent sales tax strictly to deal with roads out in the county. And there's just a lot of confusion about that. And we're just trying to make sure people understand Road and Bridge, Seward County Road and Bridge takes care of the roads and the bridges outside the city limits. Inside is called the street department. The City of Liberal Street Department takes care of the streets inside the City of Liberal. They don't overlap. However, because we are county residents, if we live in the city, we are paying for the road and bridge budget. And it's about $3 million a year. So we contribute, if you just look population, we're contributing about 2.5 to 2.7 million of that $3 million budget, even though we don't drive on those roads. But we understand we need those roads. We need people to be able to get in and out of town or get to the highway and get where they need to go. That's just part of it. You got to have roads. Now, the proposal is for another $2.5 million through sales tax for roads. And again, that's going to be mostly collected at businesses in the City of Liberal, paid for by all the shoppers that shop in Liberal, which is most of the people in Liberal, plus the people in the county who also shop here, plus some people outside the state. A sales tax is not a bad idea. The thing is, how much more can we keep adding to our sales tax in the community? And where's the plan on what we're going to do with the roads? It says we're going to maintain roads. Okay. What, have we not been maintaining roads? I mean, you were a county commissioner. Did you guys?
Well,
it's been suggested that maybe you guys weren't doing certain things.
Well, I guess you could say we did as good as we could do with what we had, but no, I mean, we would seal or whatever was necessary to take care of the blacktop roads, and yeah, sometimes you couldn't grade a road every day. I think kind of the plan was probably every couple of weeks, maybe to grade the dirt roads, the gravel roads, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, there was always people complaining about I got a rough road, but that's part of the benefit of living in the county. You just accept the idea that the road's probably not going to be paved to your front door. And when it rains like it is this morning, yeah, there's going to be some water standing probably, and a little mud and what have you. But somehow we managed to get by, and we allow a certain amount or decide a certain amount that we were going to crack seal the paved roads or whatever was necessary. Sometimes it was a little more involved than that. And I think 2nd Street Road, we had them come in and take the top off and replace that with overlay, but somehow we were able to, keep all of that, do a certain amount of miles, and yeah, we might have got a little behind, but it's just one of those kind of things that you can't do everything, but I think the effort was to do as much as we could with the money we had, and to me, it all worked out. And yeah, you're right. Not everybody was happy, but tell me something somewhere that everybody's happy about something. And I don't think that's, I don't think that's possible. But But anyway, I do think that, you know, they need to do a little more explanation other than just saying, well, this is going to go to roads. Well, there's a, you know, I mean, what does that mean? You know, where's the money going to be spent? What, if it's going to be, you know, overlay or, you know, crack sealing, or if it's going to be, you know, building new roads and putting that enzyme on there that's supposed to harden the road surface, you know. But we need, I think we need a plan so folks will understand, you know, more where they're, what their money's going for, rather than just saying, well, it's for roads. Well, that, you know, I mean, that could involve buying a new road grader, or probably not, but we don't know that. And because a road grader is certainly important when it comes to, you know, for roads. You know, so I don't know, but I think that, you know, we need to understand a lot more about it, what the road plan is. It's kind of like a comprehensive plan. You know, what's it going to be for? What's the long range outlook for this? I mean, where do we intend to be in 10 years with this suggested sales tax? And at the end of that 10 years, are we going to be caught up, or are we, you know, intending to continue that? You know, so I don't know. There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and I'm not sure we've got the, you know, well, just, you know, there's a lot of folks that are very confused about that.
Well, and the same thing with the 1 cent sales tax we had in town. My question is that going to go to salaries? Because the 1 cent sales tax, if there weren't citizens watching out for it, a couple of commissions ago, or multiple commissions ago, we found out that a lot of the 1 cent sales tax was starting to go towards salaries. Well, that was never the intent.
Yeah.
It was supposed to go towards improvements like infrastructure things, roads, sidewalks, lights, actual physical things, buildings. You know, we've built several buildings in the parks that have been beneficial to the community by having those. But we started to ask them, hey, what's all these salaries coming out of the 1 cent sales tax? And after a couple of elections, some new people came in and said, yeah, it's not supposed to be like that. And they reversed and got all those salaries out of the 1 cent sales tax, or else I would have been a no vote for the 1 cent sales tax. But they fixed it, and it continues to be a benefit the way it was intended for the community. Are we just going to put $2.5 million into staff? And does that mean we're going to hire a bunch of people for 10 years? Or just pay the people we have more for 10 years?
Yeah.
Or road graders? I think they said we had 6, I think, at the meeting the other night or something like that. I don't remember how many.
About right.
But what are we buying? What's it going to do? And don't forget, you know, we already have we have a 1 cent sales tax to make the community better. We've already added a 0.5 cent sales tax to help pay for the school bond issue. You know, how many times can you keep going to sales tax too? I mean, you got to have a reason. But again, before that 0.5 cent was on the school, we had a total plan, $127 million, 5 new schools. We knew what we were going to get, and then they proposed the financial package. In this case, we proposed a financial package, and now we're going to talk about a plan. And the city just passed a comprehensive plan, and I think it's required. Isn't it required by law for cities and counties to have a comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
So where's the comprehensive plan that we're working on with the county?
Well, you know, I thought they started both about the same time, but I don't know. The city's got theirs complete, and I don't know where we're at with the county. You know, I don't know, but the city voted on theirs, and it's complete, and now then they're starting to take a look at it and then do some of the things that's suggested on it. But I don't know.
I thought that, if I remember right, and I've met Neil Coffey, he's a good guy. I think he was brought on. Wasn't he brought on to create a comprehensive plan?
I think that's right, yeah.
And I know he's oversaw some other things at the county, like the remodel at the
courthouse
and grandstands and some other things that he's watched over. But I thought that originally he was on to develop the comprehensive plan. And I think a big part of infrastructure for the county, wouldn't it be the roads? I mean, wouldn't that be part of the comprehensive plan
You bet.
of, well, we need to improve this one, or
Yeah.
the ditches over here. We need to clean out these culverts, or, what is the situation? We kind of on the back burners, what's going on with Masoni Bridge, and what's
Yeah.
going on with the Union Pacific on that. There's other plates
Well,
that
there
we're
ain't
spinning.
anything going on there because the railroad don't want anything to do with that. But anyway.
But look what the city, people have griped for years about, man, we need a second overpass. Nothing was ever. Now, we've actually got the federal government to give us some money to study
Yeah.
it. I mean, you got to keep going, don't you? I mean,
Sure.
you got to keep pushing those
Yeah.
things and get UP to the table, or come up with a plan. But I just feel like this is putting the cart before the horse
Yeah.
right now. I'm not saying it's not needed, but I'm saying I don't know what the need is, other than that, well, roads are important.
Yeah.
And they provide safety, and they can be economic development. I get all of that. The streets in front of every house, or in any county, you can say that exact same thing. What's different about why this need now?
Yeah. Well, and I think the main thing is that folks are fed up with more tax, more tax, more tax. And this is an additional tax. And everybody's going to pay it that buys something here, and they need an explanation of why, where their tax money's going to go. And why our property taxes, every day I hear somebody saying, well, I'm thinking about moving out of town because taxes are too high here. Well, I think they're too high everywhere, but, one of the things I think that concerns me a great deal is these exemptions from these big industries, that the state legislature allowed back in '06 or whenever it was, and that allowed a lot of these companies to start exempting, what they call personal property, things that they can take with them should they decide to move. And to me, that's kind of got out of hand, because we went through one or two of those things when I was on the commission, and we ended up having to pay a considerable amount of dollars back because they were overcharged. And the court said that yeah, they were overcharged. But somewhere you can't exempt everybody from paying taxes and place it all on property owners, homeowners mainly. And that's what the real squawk is about. I had a farmer tell me the other day that his tax went up. I think they revalued it, and it was like $10,500 a quarter. It was going to cost him. Well, I assure you that there's not many farmers in Seward County that can afford that kind of a rate increase, because every one of them farm multi quarters, and some 50 or 60 perhaps. But when you think about that, but even $1,000, $1,500 increase on your home owner taxes, that makes a world of difference. And there's only, like the question I think we never got an answer to the night that I was over there and they were talking about that. Somebody said, well, what about those folks on a fixed income? The retired folks that are still living here, that are just trying to stay here, mainly old guys like me, I guess you could say, but those that are retired and living on a Social Security check. Well, that's not enough if they own their own home and you get $1,000 or $2,000 additional tax. That'll eat up that Social Security check in a heartbeat. And so what about those folks? You know, and I think that the state, as far as I'm concerned, the state plays a, you know, the state legislature plays a big part in this too. Somehow we've got to figure out how to get this thing back on track and spread that, you know, that tax collection base, expand our base, you know, rather than contracting it. And when you do, well, we still need that money. And so we'll just add that on to somebody that owns a house or, you know, a business or, you know, something like that. So somehow we have to figure that out. And I think the state needs to get seriously involved in that too. And I know Karen Tyson will be here, you know, to talk to us about that, some possible proposals from the taxation committee in Topeka. And I hope we get a good crowd to come and listen to what they've got to say. And I'm sure you'll have an opportunity to ask questions, you know, and express your concerns. Boy, it is raining out there, man.
How about that?
I mean, you can hear it hammering on that skylight.
Well, here's a local property owner that sent me this. Bought her home in 1997, and at that time, her property taxes were $875.95. So she ran that through the inflation calculator, 1997 to 2024, and it should have increased from $875.95 to $1,716. Wow, that's a pretty good jump.
Yep.
You know.
More than double.
Yeah, over a let's see, 24, 25, 6, 27 years.
I bet it's triple.
From 875
more.
to 1,716 is what it should have done if you followed the rate of inflation. But instead, it's
I'm guessing
3,084.
That's what I was going to say. I bet it's close to the 4,000.
And so
Yep.
that's a 262% increase on
There
her
you go.
property taxes, when it should, if everyone says it's because of inflation, then how is the taxes, and these are her whole taxes, so it's not just county, that would be county, city, school, college together, but how is property taxes outpacing inflation 262%, 2.5 times the amount of what inflation would have done? What's happening?
Yeah, and that don't include if they, you know, if they should settle this thing with Conestoga, that don't include that additional, you know, tax that's going to be included on the mill levy to settle that lawsuit, you know, or that don't include, you know, her half-cent sales tax on county roads, you know, depending on how much she spends there a year, you know. If she,
This same
know,
taxpayer looked
just-
at the county budget, and last year the county brought in $11.5 million from property taxes. The county only, so we're talking just county
Yep.
now. So she ran that through, said, okay, inflation has gone up. So she ran that through the inflation calculator, and this year that 11.5 million should be 11.8 million. To get the same stuff you got
Yep.
the year before, it would be now 11.8 million. That's an increase of 311,000. The county is asking for 2.2 million and saying it's inflationary. That's 707% the rate of what inflation would be in her calculated. 7 times the increase due to inflation. 7 times that. And that doesn't include the 5.9 million that they're proposing to pay for the Conestoga situation.
yeah,
You know, you don't want to add that in because that takes it to 2,604%, or 26 times the rate of inflation. But, you know, if they're going to claim, and I know it was said, you know, that it's the rate of, it's inflation, we have to go up. Okay, that would take us from $11.5 million budget to $11.8 million budget.
Yeah.
I think people would say, I understand.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've always done that in the past. I mean, yeah, it hurts to raise that mill levy. That was always a target, or a hope anyway, that we could keep the mill levy the same, even though new construction or new business coming to town or something, you always wanted to grow that tax base. And as they come, that adds more, whether it's new homes or new industry or whatever it is, that that adds to that tax base and allows you to, well, it kind of covers inflation, because every year seems like things just cost more, and they certainly do. I don't care what you look at, tell me something that's cheaper today than it was 5 years ago.
This local taxpayer also took it upon herself to research the benefits package. And the budgeted cost for all employee benefits in 2025 is $5.67 million in Seward County. And that's for the 175 employees that would go to, because there's 51 employees that are self-funded or funded through other agencies. So she only counted the ones that would be. And she compared that to Barton County, why Barton County? Well, Seward has 21,000 people. They have 24,000 people. Barton County is Great Bend and its county. And so she looked at theirs, and they have 166 employees. And they pay, and their benefits package is $3.7 million. Ours is $5.6 million. So theirs breaks down to cost per employee of $22,738. Ours is $32,428. $10,000 more for Seward County. Then she did Ford County, which is Dodge City, and the whole county, and it's a bigger county, 34,000 people. For 235 employees, theirs is $4.8 million. Ours is still $5.6 million for the 166 employees. They have 235 employees, much more employees, and are paying $4.8 million in employee benefits, which is $20,000 per employee. And we're paying $32,428 per employee.
Well, I know that benefit package is, it always goes up, but here in recent years, it's really gone up.
But wouldn't it go up in Barton?
And,
wouldn't it go up in Ford?
Yeah, and I don't know, I think probably they've no doubt got a different plan. We've tried to, I think they've tried to stay with the same plan that we've had for years, called grandfather, but when do you, I think one of the reasons was that you try to retain employees, with a good benefit package, no different than any other business. You try to do that, but there comes a time, and I know we increased the cost to the individual, trying to help cover some of that. But there comes a time when you just can't do that anymore.
Can you tell me any business, private business even, in town that could match that? Because
No,
I heard that they're
I don't
running
think
some
so.
ads for employees on the radio, and they're talking about $200 deductibles.
Yeah.
Can you tell me an insurance carrier or plan that anyone carries in the town, or a private business that is offering that?
I paid double that on my Medicare.
That's just it. I mean, there's just,
yeah.
you're asking the community that can't afford these things themselves to provide them to other entities. And I know the thing is going to say retention and all of this, but you think businesses aren't trying to retain their staff?
Sure.
and they can't do it.
Yep.
And $32,000 a year. I know a lot of people in town who are working jobs that don't even make $32,000 a year, much less that the
Yeah.
benefits alone are $32,000
Yep.
a year. And they're going to have to, and they own properties, humble as they may be, and they're going to have to pay for that. And yeah, I know these things always go up and up and up, but there comes a time when you have to say, we have reached the ceiling.
Yeah.
Now, I'm hoping that the county and the leadership is looking at getting a CFO in, and maybe they can look at the numbers and just figure that out, because another thing is, it's like we're wanting it all right now at once, you know?
Yeah.
It's like
I know.
if a kid, wants a bicycle and a Nintendo and all this stuff for Christmas, as a parent, you say, you're getting one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're getting
That's right.
one. You're not getting all this. But yet we're trying to solve, we got the Conestoga situation in the air. We're going to try to solve all that this year right now.
Yeah.
We got some other needs in the county that's
I know.
equaling $2.2 million, and we're going to fund that fully right now. And on top of that, we want to fix all the roads at $2.5 million a year for 10 years, $25 million, and we're going to pass that right now. It just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
All at once. And I had one
It
lady
is.
at church tell me, she said, I can't afford to stay in my house if this goes through.
Yeah. Well, she's not the only one. There's a lot of, and yeah, it might only be for a year, but I just can't believe that. Well, first of all, I can't believe that the settlement's going to be $6 million.
It won't be.
But that has to be, even at $4 million, that has to be strung out over a period of years. And I just think that the state legislature, the Board of Tax Appeals is going to have to step in and say, no, you can't have it all at once. Of course, that's what Arcalon Energy is asking for, is all of that tax money to be paid back at once. And to me, I think some kind of an arrangement needs to be made over a 6 or 8 or 10 year period, and to pay that back, or they not pay as much tax or whatever the thing is, with interest, because the county has money that they've collected that, according to state law, they didn't deserve. And so, but I just don't think that they can't allow that to be a one-time payment of, whatever the agreement's going to be, 3 or 6 or 2 or whatever. I just can't think that anybody in their right mind would do that, because just like that lady, you're gonna cause people to lose their homes on account of that. Now that don't really make good sense to me, and that's going to upset a heck of a lot of people. So, I think maybe, there's got to be some kind of a better settlement for that.
Well,
And yeah, it's going to cost more, but it's not going to be that amount.
if this lady did this on her home, it's got to be the same on every home,
Sure.
other than valuation.
Yeah.
Her home might have been valued.
Yeah.
There could be some fluctuation there.
Yeah.
But to go from $875.95, reflect inflation, $1,716.64, 27 years later. That's probably realistic. That's probably,
Yeah.
But for it to be $3,084, that really outpaces inflation by a long way. And we've got to do better at figuring this stuff out and working within our means. Seward County is a great place to live, work, and play. I love it. This is my home for life. And I want it to be other people's home for life.
Now we're going to be too poor to go anyplace else.
Well, let's see what they actually come up with. I don't believe for a second that they ever thought they were going to get a 29 mil increase.
I don't, well, this is different leadership, so who knows what they thought.
We're only 2 months away. What, the first Tuesday in November? This is September, October, November, so we're less than 60 days out from the vote on the half-cent sales tax. So we'll see what's proposed, but I just me as a person, I want more information, and I just haven't seen it yet. And and again, like my kid or anybody else, if you're asking me for all this stuff at once, we're going to say, well, pick, or even me at my house. I had a tree that was lifting my driveway up, and so I had to get rid of the tree, had to replace the drive, and I got another tree that's got to come out. You know what we didn't do? We didn't do all three at the same time. We took out the tree, and then the next year we poured a new drive, and now in a year or so we'll take out the other tree that's causing problems. But that's what you do on a home budget. You've got to spread some of those things out and prioritize. And
well, that's because you was paying the bill. Now, if you was using somebody else's money,
we could have done all three.
You could have just done all three and not had anything to worry about.
We could have.
There you
or
go.
I could have went down and took out a home loan. But we thought we're just going to run this through cash flow.
And there you go, buying your banker a new house again.
So we chose not to do it that way. Well, we want to also bring you some information from Southwest Medical Center with a medical moment, and we're going to do that right after this.
Our loved ones leave an impression on us, and it's important to make sure their lasting impression honors the life they led. Since 1956, the Jones family has been providing lasting legacies to the lives of our loved ones, and that torch has now been passed to the Creekmore family. The commitment to compassion continues by offering the largest inventory in stock in the region with in-house custom craftsmanship that makes sure each piece is as unique as the life it represents. With a combined 82 years of experience and professional designers on staff, Jones Monument continues to provide affordable pricing and convenient turnaround times. They are ready to serve you from 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to noon on Saturday. Yes, our loved ones may have passed, but the memorial left behind stands as a testament to our never-ending love. The staff at Jones Monument understands that, and that's why providing monuments is more than a sideline at Jones Monument. That's all they do. Visit Jones Monument when you're ready to make an impression beyond a lifetime.
Fall off the bone ribs, dripping with our signature barbecue sauce. Tender pulled pork and brisket smoked to perfection. All served with family recipe home-style sides. It's all waiting for you at the Brick House Barbecue and Brew. Open 7 days a week, your barbecue appetite can be satisfied anytime for lunch or dinner. Brick House serves full dinners, combos, sandwiches, and take-home packs. Enjoy a variety of brews on tap or a mixed drink. Shaken, not stirred. Give your taste buds a treat at Brick House Barbecue and Brew, 24 East 2nd Street in Liberal. Like us on Facebook and see our full menu at brickhouselk.com. Welcome back. We have a couple of guests with us here from the lab department of Southwest Medical Center, and there are certain times of year, some things are seasonal, but one of the big times that's happening for these guys is the health fair coming up, which is going to be a lot of lab tests. But we appreciate you guys coming in this morning.
Glad to be here.
So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what do you do at when we say, well, that's got to be sent to the lab. People don't maybe know what happens next. So what is it that you guys do over there?
You want to start?
You want to start?
I'll start. Well, so there's a lot of behind-the-scenes activity in the laboratory, that's for sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have you introduce yourself. Tell us who you guys are.
My name's Robbie Powell. I've worked here for nearly 2 years now. Of course, I've worked at other labs, but right now this is my home.
I'm Emery Villarosa. I've been working for Southwest Medical Center for almost 4 years now. I live in Liberal, and I'm glad to be here.
Oh, great. I'm sorry, I should have done that first. But so now tell us, now that you're here, what do you do in the lab?
There's a lot of behind the scenes work in the laboratory. I myself in the laboratory, I work all departments. There's chemistry department, hematology department, all those big names that are assigned to the departments. So yeah, we do a lot of the testing, a lot of the equipment, maintenance on the equipment.
Yeah, we provide like diagnosis in
Yeah.
helping the diagnosis of doctors with our test results. Yeah, like that's the main purpose of the lab.
Yeah, I think about 80% of diagnosis come from the laboratory.
From the laboratory.
So I'm always fascinated. I've been out there and I've had the test done during the health fair. Now I'm a little squeamish with the needles, but my wife told them that, and they used, I think, a smaller one. And I go to my happy place, and they do a good job of getting me talking. And they said, "So where are the girls at now? What are they doing?" They got me distracted, which is good. But then I get this multiple page report, and I'm just always like, how do they know how much cholesterol? How do they know how much this and that? I mean, what is it that you guys do how do you determine all of that?
Yeah, technology is amazing. But every test that you see on a report basically is a chemical reaction. So the reagents react with your sample, your blood,
Yep.
and then it does its calculations. So
It's more of the machine
it is.
does all the calculations for us to determine what's your levels. So
There are still some manual testing that we have to do, but not for the health fair, of course. But most things are done within the equipment,
within the equipment.
and we just have to organize the specimens and samples and make sure the equipment's properly working, so that we get the most accurate result that we can get.
Well, and anytime anyone goes to a doctor and they say, "Yeah, we're going to send this over to the lab," I'm assuming they mean you're going to get it. And so pretty much who doesn't visit the doctor, that something doesn't end up coming over to you guys, right?
Yep.
And so when they give to you, do they just say, just run this through lab, or are they saying, we're looking specifically for something or other, and then that directs you where you go? How does that process work?
The doctor is the one that begins that process with the order.
Yep.
Whatever they think that needs to be tested
Ordered,
for
yeah.
is where it begins. There's test panels that are ordered. A lot of times for screening purposes, to give the doctor a good idea. A lot of times as a jumping off point, and then if anything abnormal is found, he can expand, or he or she can expand the order
Testings.
and do more advanced testing or more specified testing.
So if we took a little blood from Jim, do you run it through a little motor to find the blood alcohol content? Or how do
We can
possible.
certainly do that.
It's possible. Yeah.
that's that's probably a test you guys do, isn't it? I mean,
Yes.
you figure that kind of thing out. How much? I mean, forensics. You guys are doing. I mean, that comes down to lab work too. Do you guys help with those situations, or what are some specific tests that you guys kind of do in the forensic side?
For the forensic side, unless we're asked to give out like samples, that's just when we give it to them. But yeah, we can do like alcohol testing, like drug levels. So that's where the lab stands at the forensic side as well.
Yes.
I get accused of using a lot of salt. Does that show up in the blood? How would I know if I'm overusing the salt shaker? Is that something?
You would have to have a lot of salt for it
To be detected.
to detect it. Yes.
Some people might say I could. They'll probably show up, but and like DNA. You know, I'm in a group called the Sons of the American Revolution, and we had to chase our genetics relatives to find someone who was actually in the Revolutionary War. Do you guys help with DNA or things like that?
With some specialty labs do that, but for us, we just send it out
With the DNA side?
with the DNA side. Yep.
Yes, that's a more advanced.
Advanced testing.
Yes.
So with this health fair coming up, what are some of the tests that you guys will be doing? What, and I think, gosh, it's what, $35? Is that what it is? And you know, you can't go out in a restaurant and get a decent steak for $35, but you're going to get tests that would cost you probably several $100s, if not $1,000,
Right.
to go get these.
It goes out to like 5,000.
5,000? So it's equivalent of $5,000, Jeanette said. So what are some of these tests that are part of the health fair?
We have a chemistry profile, which kidney function, liver function,
Vitamins.
vitamin panel, thyroids. We have a vitamin panel. I think
Panels,
vitamin
yep.
B12,
B12,
and
vitamin
D.
Ds,
Mhm.
your A1Cs,
Yes.
and then some of our chemistries as well.
Yes, it's a really good
It's a-
screening
yeah.
package. It really is. It's a good jumping off point. Let's say if you don't have a physician.
Physician,
Let's
yep.
say you want to find a physician. It'll be a good place to get your labs done
Get
and
your
say,
labs done.
okay, and then take them to a doctor and say,
Mhm.
here's my labs. And then you can go
Start from there, yep.
Yeah, and so I got that form back, and you know, I guess there's what, HDL and LDL on cholesterol. One of them's supposed to be good, one's supposed to be bad, or I guess it could be bad or good depending on how much you have of either one of them. But and then I mean, mine were in. The chart's really good because it kind of gives you ranges, like
Yes.
how much or off you are, and this is like what normal numbers are, and here's where your numbers are, and things like that, which is really good information to have. But you take that to a doctor, and then they could either say you either need to eat different, or you need to exercise different, or you might need a medication. Is that kind of so? How does that process follow that through, and tell me how it works?
So those are called your cholesterols, your lipid panels. So like what you were saying, the LDL, the good and the bad, there's good and bad. So that's where the doctors kind of base their diagnosis. If you're going to need to eat healthier, exercise more, or that's when they tell you that you're going to start your maintenance medicines. What else?
Here's a little my lab nerdness coming out of me. But each laboratory, I've worked at several, but each laboratory is required to set up their own normal ranges for their population. So your normal ranges at this hospital are not necessarily going to be the same at, let's say,
A different
hospital
hospital.
2 hours away.
Really?
Yes, because it's a requirement that we have to set up our own normal ranges for our
Baseline,
population.
a
Yes.
baseline. Okay.
Yes. So that, based on ethnicity, that it changes sometimes with ethnicity.
Your age
culture.
group.
Yeah, just depending on that certain culture you are living in.
So that probably is driven by diet or
Mhm.
what you would eat in that region also, and things
Absolutely.
like that. I mean, there's probably
That's
areas
true.
of the world where
Mhm.
rice might be a little bit more common, other places where wheat, corn, and that's gonna affect us in certain ways. And I'm glad to be living in beef country.
Yes.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. we definitely have different ranges.
Yeah, I don't want to live. I don't know wherever goat country is, but I prefer beef country. So that's good. But no, I'm sure that, and so you guys establish bases. I always ask some of the medical professionals who come in, do you see some commonalities? What makes Southwest Kansas unique? What on testing? What are some of the things you see that are very common to Southwest Kansas?
As far as ranges go,
Yeah, ranges or
yeah.
specific conditions,
yeah, like thyroids are basically going to be the same.
Yeah.
Because that's not affected as much as diet, as like cholesterols, lipids, and things like that. But there's some things that will be similar across the country or across the board. But anything that's controlled or affected by diet, yeah, those ranges would
Those
be
Different,
affected.
yep.
Sure. Our church years ago, we had 4 different women. My wife was one of them. That after they had a baby, every one of them within 6 months had their gallbladder removed. And I was like, "What? There's
Yeah.
I'm not some conspiracy theorist, but there's something correlating.
Yes.
I don't know
Yeah.
what it is, but
You're onto something there. I think.
Yeah.
and that's what I asked that question to find out our environment here, whether it's the air we breathe or what we're exposed to. Does that create anything different for us? And I'm sure that the lab would be the place you could find that.
Correct.
And I've always tried to find out, what is it that makes us that we would have something that maybe would all turn our flashers on that, hey, watch for this because this is more common in our part of the world, and so you might want to check tests on this, that, or the other because it may be more prevalent. But like you guys said, you find out about ethnicities, diet, thing like that. Now, Jim over there, what happens when you eat too many hot peppers? Does that show up in a test?
No, I don't reckon. I don't know for
Probably
sure.
not.
It's not going to show.
No.
He's done contests. I think cilantro's a little bit spicy. So
That's what keeps you so healthy.
Yeah, the hot
Is that-
stuff.
yeah.
I don't know about. Well, it probably kills everything else. But so this test day, this is coming up. Let's see. I'm looking at the date here,
October 4th.
October 4th. So it's the same day as the airfare.
Yes.
But the cool thing is, nothing happens at the airfare till afternoon. So you guys have all morning.
I was hoping I wasn't going to miss that.
You won't. You won't. You can almost see it from there. You're going to be in a good spot because you guys are going to be at the activity center. So 7 to noon, 7 in the morning till noon, people can come out. And I think, of course, there's going to be some vendors and some other health care professionals offering information and things out there. But the big thing is getting in there and getting these lab tests, getting the blood drawn, and that, and then usually, I can't remember. What does it take? How long does it take to run these tests and get people their results?
Once we have samples, probably within 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 weeks.
We will
sorry.
definitely have everything
Yeah.
completed in 2 weeks.
2 weeks to 3 weeks. Yeah.
But yeah, we start testing immediately.
we
as
start
soon
testing
as,
immediately.
Collect the specimens and start currying
Currying.
them to the lab.
Yeah.
And testing begins immediately.
So as soon
Got the results in a week and a half.
Yeah.
the results
I
in
believe
what?
they're
In
mailed.
a week
Is
and a
that
half
right?
because we're
Yes,
still
they're
going to
mailed.
mail
Week
it
and
to
a half.
them, sort it
yeah.
out.
That's part of the
Yeah.
the slowdown is the mail itself.
So I mean, once you would draw the blood, and I think they have little vials, several little different vials they put that in. How long is that good for testing? I mean, I know that like now, when you hear some of these cold cases are being solved with DNA that they're being able to find on gloves and different things, 30, 40 years, 50 years ago. How good is the sample for you guys? How long does that last?
Well, testing. I mean, most tests like a PSA or things are. I think you can test up for 2 weeks, and the only reason is that's just the cutoff.
Yeah.
That's where the standards are. Like if, say, you had lab at your doctor's office last week, and he said, "Oh, let's go ahead and check your PSA," and then call and add that. It's only, we keep specimens for a
7
week.
days a week.
But usually a standard is you can add something on, depending on the test, up to
Because there
a
are
week
some
to 2
tests
weeks.
that is so sensitive with time. Like
It can
you're
degrade.
let's say your glucose. The more it stays in the tube, the more it degrades faster. So it kind of depends on what you're testing. that's called like specimen integrity.
Okay. So if someone's coming in that morning, what do you recommend them to do as far as like before they get there? I mean, should I
Good question.
eat a dozen donuts and head out? I mean, what do you suggest that we do before we get out there for the test?
Probably, it's better to do fasting. Do it fasting for
least
at
8
least
hours.
8 hours, just to make sure that everything is accurate. That's your normal levels per se.
Now, if someone's on medications, we're not going to tell you not to take your medications for 8
Yeah.
hours. That is not, you need to, if you're on medication, take your medication. Don't
medications.
unless you're instructed to by your physician. But yeah, anybody can fast for 8 hours, usually. Yes.
drink
We don't want
water.
people to get dehydrated. That makes the blood.
That makes it harder for us to draw blood.
Yes.
I want
Water
to make
is
that as
good.
easy as possible.
Yeah. Water is fine.
Okay. So, and since this is in the morning, maybe just do this before you have breakfast, and then
It's true.
come get your test first, and then go out and get something to eat.
You can,
Yes,
yeah, you can have your
that's
donuts waiting for you in the car.
After.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, if they're sitting there, that's a bad deal. That's a bad deal. But I think there might even be. Is the kitchen going to be open out there?
United Way will do that.
So United Way is going to have concessions out there after you go through your test. Then you can go get something right out there if you want to, and then later in the day, get on out to the airfare. And there's going to be a lot of vendors out there. I think they've got like 20 some that's going to be out there, and come watch the air show and enjoy that. But you don't have to worry. Your tests are in. Just wait. Go have some fun. Watch that. And in 2 to 3 weeks, you probably get your results of your testing. Something you can share with your doctor, and have some good information there on how to maintain your health. I mean, isn't the goal preventative? I mean, do you,
That's
if I'm running these tests, is there something that you might find that I might not know about? I mean, how does that work?
Absolutely.
What are some things that might show up?
High blood pressures.
Oh, really?
What else?
Of
Diabetes.
course, diabetes for sure is a big one. And then with the added PSA and CEA,
Yeah,
those are tumor markers.
tumor markers for
So,
cancers.
and it's not if it's elevated, it's like nothing to panic about, but because like I said, ranges can be different for different people. But tumor markers are good. Thyroid is a very
Thyroid,
good
yep.
screening.
Your vitamins.
It's very important.
Vitamins
Rich.
as well.
Vitamins, yes. Any of those can be out of range and be easily treatable.
Yep.
So a lot of people might be watching. I mean, there seems like there's a commercial every few minutes about some kind of drug you can be taking. One of them that I see a lot is about A1C, and you've mentioned A1C. What is that? What is A1C, and what does that tell us?
So A1C is like the accumulation of your sugar in your RBCs for the past 3 months. So let's say you've been eating a lot of sweets for the past 3 months. That's and then your doctor orders your A1C. That is where he or she can like it shows there how much sugar you're taking for the past 3 months, and that's where they kind of base the diagnosis for diabetes.
Oh.
Yes, it can. Because it includes. It's called what the mean.
Mean intake per day or
The
something.
glucose, mean
Yeah.
glucose. So it gives an daily average
Daily
glucose.
average of glucose that you're taking in
Yeah, for the past 3
for the
months.
past 3 months.
Wow.
And it can indicate if you haven't been controlling your diet, if you
Diet.
haven't been, let's say you're insulin dependent, if you haven't
Yeah.
been
Taking your
properly using your insulin. So let's say your baseline is high. Let's say it's above normal. And then you start watching your diet, or you start your medication, and then in 3 months it drops down. That means you're controlling your sugar better over the past 3 months than
months.
previously.
So you can't really cheat on your A1C.
No, there's not. No, you have to pretty much do what you're told on that
Yeah.
one.
I don't cheat on mine. I take care of it really. I'm if it's about sugar, I'm giving it what it wants. Not a bad thing. But when you look at discovering some of these things and heading them off, that's I think what's important about an event like this, because maybe you think I'm doing okay, I feel pretty good, but I don't go to the doctor on a regular basis. This is a good way to just say, well, let's just come out and check it out. Just get the test done, because it's only $35, and I think there's some other tests you can do for $7 each, maybe a little more advanced testing. Or
That's true.
do you know what
That is
those
correct.
tests? What are some of those $7 tests?
I think it includes our PSAs, our A1Cs, our tumor markers, the CA, and then our vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin B12s. What else am I missing?
I think those are the add-ons.
Magnesium. Yeah, magnesium.
PSA for men, of course. CEA for women. A1C, okay. And
Magnesium.
okay.
Yeah, looks like prostate-specific antigen.
Correct.
A screening for possible prostate cancer in men, a carcinoembryonic antigen,
Yes.
which screens for possible cancer in women. They use too many vowels in these words.
Oh yeah.
I like
We're
better when they
we're
just
alphabet soup in the lab. That's for sure.
a glycated hemoglobin to test for diabetic readings, as well as a magnesium test.
Yes.
So we got a lot going on, and a lot of opportunities to find out just where you are. And believe me, you don't want to wait too late. It's better to find out exactly where you are early on, if there is some condition, to address it quickly and get over those kind of things. So I don't remember. Maybe Jeanette remembers how many people did we test last year?
Well, it was over 3,000 pre-exams, but lab testing over 1,400.
So 3,000 and 1,400 lab tests.
Lab test was 1,400. General testing was over 3,000.
Okay, lab testing was 1,400 and general testing was 3,000. Over 3,000. So, in a community of, Seward County is what, 22,000, 3,000, we could probably do better. But you guys did a great job last year. I think even the city sponsored the fee.
Testing.
Yeah. You couldn't make that happen again?
I'm sorry. Maybe in a couple of years.
But that was a big boon right there. But for $35, you can't beat anything. You can't talk to a lawyer for half an hour for $35. So it's a great deal, and to find out this information about exactly where you are with these conditions in your blood. Is there anything, you talk about making sure 8-hour fasting, get some water in you. Anything else as far as coming in and doing the test?
Nothing
No,
really.
those
That's
are the
just the
main two.
the
That will help
main
out-
patient
help out a lot.
preparation.
And how many people? I mean, I know it's private. You go in behind a curtain. It's not like you're doing this out in front of everybody. And then, there may be two or three other people in a room, or an area, but they're off doing their thing. So it's still a very private situation, right? And you're dealing with an individual healthcare provider. Are these people associated with the lab, or nurses, or how, what resources do you have out there that day?
Yes, we have
We're having help
The
from
laboratory
nurses,
staff.
the laboratory staff.
nursing staff. Yes.
Yeah,
Like the students.
And
the
yes, and
students from the colleges. Yeah.
So they come out and help get the samples, and then like you guys said, you start immediately. How does this affect like your regular ebb and flow of your workflow? Because it's like a big surge. It's like we just had a rainstorm, and usually maybe you're used to a certain amount coming in. How do you handle all that?
Well, luckily, it is on a Saturday.
It's on a Saturday. So.
So our workflow is less on Saturdays. So other than ER, it will be our and ER and inpatients, it will be our top
health
priority.
fair sample.
Mhm.
Yep.
And with medical care, you mentioned that it's important to know. it's not just an 8 to 5er. I mean, someone has an emergency, they need a doctor now, and that could be 2 in the morning on a Sunday. I mean, there's just, you guys are, the hospital never sleeps, as to a certain degree. There's always some things going on. So even on the lab side, do you guys, how does that affect what you guys do and when you do it?
We do also have like 3 shifts, days, evenings, and night shifts. So technically, we're still open 24 hours. So with the health fair coming in, those shifts are not going to be affected. We're still gonna do our regular programming with an added health fair samples. So
Yeah, with the added samples, I mean, we know it's temporary. It's not like it's going to be every day that we have, another 100 extra,
of
200
samples.
extra samples. So it's, there's an end to it, so it's easily to get through.
You mentioned earlier this was all, or most of it, I guess, was done by machine. How many samples can you run at one time with that
Wow.
machine?
oh wow.
Okay.
We have 2 chemistry machines, and it can run probably how much?
Wow.
That's a lot. Like
That's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot
If-
too.
Okay.
If we had one person that could just put all the samples on
All at the same
all
time.
at the same time, it would not take long at all.
200 probably.
Probably 200 samples.
200 samples,
I would
all
say.
at the same time.
That's
Now,
a good question.
it was a good
I'm
question. I had to
impressed.
think
Yeah.
hard.
Well, you know.
I don't know that I'd want it to work that hard all at one
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But it's probably possible.
Yeah, and so running these tests, getting the data, and then of course I love how when you go in, you're going to get a little packet, and it's going to keep you marked so that everything going through is going to be you, and your samples are going to be your samples and your data, and I think you even fill out like an envelope or something so that even when it's shipped back, you get it in your own handwriting or something so that everything was traced and kept. So you feel
Yes.
Yes, our from start to finish, the process is very organized, and it's so organized that it's, even if we like get a tube like out of an envelope, let's say it was, well, we'll find it. There's no
There's
way
a name,
to
yeah.
there is no way to
Lose.
or mix
Mix
them
up,
up.
yep.
No.
So it's mostly fiction that this babies get shipped at the hospital story. Is that really, that never really happens?
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm not going to speak on that one. But no, our process is very streamlined.
Yeah, and I know, like I say, I've been through it, so I have full confidence in it because everything was so methodical and laid out that, even though there's a lot of people going through, everything is still very individualized, and you're treated like you might be the only one there. And that is, for some of us who a little skittish about dealing with doctors or needles or something like that, they did a great job of taking the edge off, making you feel comfortable about it. And like I say, even though there's hundreds and hundreds of people lined up to go through, they treat you like you're the only one right now. And I really appreciate the way that they did that and take care of that. I don't want to leave anything out. Is there anything I didn't ask you feel is important to share about is your degree or your area would be like when you see MLT, is that kind of like what you guys are?
Ems and I are medical laboratory scientists.
Oh, okay,
Which is starts at a bachelor's degree.
okay.
So we 4 years, at
4
least
year
4
degree,
years.
At least 4
Yeah.
year degree. Yeah.
Yeah, and then is there anything else in the testing or anything you feel is important for everyone to know out there? Don't want to leave anything out.
Just come and get it done.
Just
Yeah, I mean,
just come over and get it done so that if you guys are having problems, we can your labs can show and you can take it to your doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, even if you did it last year, you say, well, I did that last year. Do it again.
Do it
For
again.
one, it's only $35. and things can change in a year.
That's true.
That's true.
And you never know. And it's, I hope that this is something that continues for a long time, and if people can come out and get this done every year,
Yep.
it's worth doing. And finding out exactly where you are. These guys will run your stuff through the machines and the chemicals and everything else, and able to tell you things that we wouldn't be able to know otherwise. And you want to know it as early as possible. And so we appreciate the work that you guys do, and thanks for putting this on and being willing to up the workload by, what'd you say, 1,700? 1,400 additional tests running through your lab, and benefits us all, so we appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And we got some more news and views we're going to bring to you, and we're going to do that right after this.
Our loved ones leave an impression on us, and it's important to make sure their lasting impression honors the life they led. Since 1956, the Jones family has been providing lasting legacies to the lives of our loved ones, and that torch has now been passed to the Creekmore family. The commitment to compassion continues by offering the largest inventory in stock in the region with in-house custom craftsmanship that makes sure each piece is as unique as the life it represents. With a combined 82 years of experience and professional designers on staff, Jones Monument continues to provide affordable pricing and convenient turnaround times. They are ready to serve you from 9:30 to 5 Monday through Friday and 9:30 to noon on Saturday. Yes, our loved ones may have passed, but the memorial left behind stands as a testament to our never-ending love. The staff at Jones Monument understands that, and that's why providing monuments is more than a sideline at Jones Monument. That's all they do. Visit Jones Monument when you're ready to make an impression beyond a lifetime.
Well, having the health fair come up, that's always a good thing.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's going to be a big day in Liberal. You got the health fair, you've got the air fair.
West side of town's going to be heavy populated.
Yeah, looking forward to all of that. That's all going to be good. Get all of that going on, and don't tell me there's nothing to do in Liberal. There's plenty of stuff going on.
Well, that day there will be a lot of stuff.
Well, and coming up, there's going to be ball games here. Redskins go out of town Friday to Wichita South, but Thursday you got volleyball that'll be here. The Lady Redskins will open their home slate with some volleyball, and also tomorrow you got middle school football. The Seymour Rogers team will be playing at home. Last week Eisenhower was at home. Now they kind of trade so that I think that helps with officials. So you only have to have one group of officials that can do one or the other, and so they bounce back and forth doing that. But got that coming up, and just a lot of things happening, and it's a busy time, and school's back in session. Got a lot going on there. We've been talking about that stabbing in Charlotte, and now Trump has asked for the death penalty for this person that did it, saying that there's just no other option. And this guy has been involved with a number of crimes, and now he just without provocation, without reason, just took someone's life on the community. And what do you think about death penalty?
Well, I guess I'd say it's well deserved. I mean, he did that with, didn't even know that individual. Apparently just because she was white, just stood up and, did his thing. But, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, I guess that's just the way it is. But, we've got to crack down on these criminals, and I know there's some consideration about the judge that turned him loose the last time. He'd been in trouble, I think, 14 different times, been to court, had been released, and or maybe paid a little fine or something. But on the last time, I mean, there's no doubt that they knew there was something wrong, and but they turned him loose anyway. And so now then they're taking a look at the judge, apparently that judge may have done this before with other individuals that, you know, did harm to somebody. And I think that's, like I said the other day, I think it's going to be, it's the crime, stupid. I just really believe that because, you know, things like this are beginning to draw the attention of a lot of voters, and, you know, in their cities. And they don't want that going on. They don't want these kind of people in their cities that are habitual criminals. And, you know, they're going to be looking as to who will take care of that and who just turns them loose. And, you know, I think if you look at it, you know, it leans towards the blue side, the blue party. You know, the judges that are, well, I heard the other day there's, let's see, I think that was this morning, there's like, I forgot, it's not quite 2-to-1 liberal judges on the courts, from, you know, the lower courts to the higher courts. There's, I can't remember what that number was, but there's a considerable amount more of liberal judges than there are what they would consider conservative judges. And so they're beginning, but I just think that this is going to be the thing that tips the election. It's going to be the crime, stupid. You know, as we continue to clean these cities up, and now then the courts are getting into it. Well, you can't bring a National Guard into our town, or you can't do this, or we don't want ICE, or, you know, well, that might be the leadership, but it's certainly not the citizens that are being affected by this. And those are the folks that get out and vote. So, you know, I still think, you know, we're going to get away from it's the economy or it's, you know, whatever it is, and I think it's going to be more about the safety and security of the residents of the communities that get out and vote.
In Illinois, a lady, 20-year-old Katie Abraham, and her friend were waiting at a stoplight in January this year. And while they were waiting at a stoplight, the car was plowed into by a Guatemalan man who's accused of driving drunk, and killed Katie. And nothing from the governor's office, nothing about no public comments about it at all. Yeah. And his father says, you know, she was killed and he received a life sentence, the dad. Yeah. You know, because now he's got to live the rest of his life without his 20-year-old daughter. You know, and this is the kind of stuff that, you know, could be solved. But what does the governor say instead when ICE says, well, we need to go in and find some of these people that, because of their sanctuary status, we know people are going to be coming to this area, so we're going to have to go in and find these people and dig them out. And what does the governor say? He says, once again, this isn't about fighting crime. That requires support and coordination. Yet we've experienced nothing like that over the past several weeks. Instead of taking steps to work with us on public safety, the Trump administration's focused on scaring Illinoisans. I think Illinoisans are already scared. I think, you know, when
you don't come out of your house, you know.
Well, they're shooting into houses.
You know, yeah. You know, but I mean, you don't go to the grocery store when you need to. You don't go to the doctor when you need to. And why is because you're scared to come out for fear of being raped or mugged or, you know, whatever the deal is. Your car being stolen in the parking lot while you're in the store shopping. You know, I think that's the problem. But these guys, they continue to ignore that, and we keep electing them, and it's why. Why do you do that? I mean, if you've got somebody that don't care about your safety and security, and all they care about is, you know, being the mayor or a city councilman or a governor or whatever, if they don't care about you, they need to go. And we've got to get that through our head that just because you recognize a name, that individual might not be acting or going to act in your best interest as to keeping you safe. And you know, you gotta do your homework on these things. But you know, the governor, you know, the mayor of Chicago, all of those folks should be removed from office because they don't care about your safety and your security. Oh, it's just another day in Chicago. Only 5 got shot today. You know, 5 are dead, and you know, another 18 got wounded. But it's just another day. No, that does not need to continue. You can clean that up, and that's what Trump's doing.
If they'll let him.
Yeah, if
And-
they'll let him.
And these guys don't want him coming in
No,
to Illinois because I think it's an admission of failure on their
yeah,
part.
it is.
And it shows that their policies haven't worked. But to me, it doesn't matter if the voters continue to put these people back in. They're asking for
Yeah.
it.
Well, it's just like the communist that's running for mayor of New York. You put him in, folks, and you deserve what you get. Now, I don't know why you can't see that, but you will. You'll definitely feel the effects of it. But yeah, I mean, I can't believe that people are that stupid or uninformed or whatever, but they're out there because these folks are in place and they got elected.
Yeah. And when you start taking the guns away from the good guys, all that's left is the bad guys. And they will find a way to get guns. Always have,
Yeah.
always will. You know,
Yep.
why do you think it was pirates on the high seas that were able to go take over other ships and stuff like that, and why other ships had to arm themselves to protect themselves from the dangers out there? You go take the guns away from the good guys, all that's left, and I don't care if the good guy or what you consider the good and the bad guys, whenever only one side has guns, that side is almost never the good guys. Whether that's in China or Russia or you name the place, Venezuela, anytime one side can have guns and the other side can't, that's usually a bad place.
Yep.
But if a place says, look, everybody have a gun, then all of a sudden it neutralizes the threat.
Sure.
And, you know, that situation on that train in Charlotte, there were other people sitting around there, and I'm sure they were in fear for themselves too, but gosh, why couldn't they try to, you know, when he started just hacking at this girl, just try to do something?
Mm-hmm.
But again, you look at that case in New York, and a guy who did try to step in and intervene, at least a jury found him not guilty, which I wasn't sure
Yeah.
in New York. But the one thing at least about that jury is probably every one of those people rode on the subway too. And I think what they asked, who would you rather have sitting by you, this Marine or this guy who's threatening to kill somebody and saying, someone's dying today?
Yep.
Who do you want to be sitting by?
Well, it wouldn't be much question for me, but I guess others don't mind. Oh, no.
Yeah. And how about this semi-admission from Kamala Harris talking about Joe Biden? You know how they've defended him and everything. She said on his worst day, he was more deeply knowledgeable, more capable of exercising judgment, and far more compassionate than Donald Trump on his best. But at 81, Joe got tired.
Really? I'll be darned.
How about that?
Yeah.
That's when his age showed in physical and verbal stumbles. I don't think it's any surprise that the debate debacle happened right after 2 back-to-back trips to Europe and a flight to the West Coast for a Hollywood fundraiser. I don't believe it was incapacity. If I believed that, I would have said so. As loyal as I am to Biden, I'm more loyal to my country, she said.
Well, you know, that don't happen overnight. You know, but when you have your 81st birthday, that don't happen. I've already had mine, but anyway, you know, things like that don't happen overnight. It takes a while to develop that, and it's pretty evident once it starts. You know, that's been going on for quite some time, and they just were able to conceal it and fool folks and manipulate the ballot box, and you know, we got what we got. But you know, I think that, you know, now we've also got what we've got, and it goes against the grain of what the Democrat Party wants and intends for you, and so Trump's always the bad guy. And if they have to take him to court to stop whatever, anything that he tries, that's where it all ends up. And, you know, but if she just noticed that overnight, why, there's a little bit wrong with her too.
Yeah. Well, and then she's kind of throwing his staff under the bus, saying that the president's staff was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. None of them grasped that if I did well, he did well. That given the concerns about his age, my visible success as his vice president was vital. It would serve as a testament to his judgment in choosing me and reassurance that if something happened, the country was in good hands. My success was important for him. That's how she saw it. And it's Joe and Jill's decision. We all said that like a mantra, as if we'd all been hypnotized. Was it grace or was it recklessness? In retrospect, I think it was recklessness. The stakes were simply too high. This wasn't a choice that should have been left to an individual's ego, an individual's ambition. It should have been more than a personal decision.
Well, all I can say is we were probably better off with Joe, even though he was in the mental condition he was in, than her, because I don't think she had a clue about running, you know, a bicycle shop, let alone the United States, and been the vice president and standing or whatever. You know, I mean, we've seen enough of her and enough of her comments that she had no clue. So, you know, a lot of folks didn't like it, but Joe was what we had, and that's what we stuck with. And, you know, there was ample opportunity to change, but for some reason nobody wanted to, because they actually believed that, you know, she would be worse, if you can get worse. And I think probably she very likely would have been. But then, you know, talking like that, maybe she's positioning herself, I'm sure she's positioning herself for trying to make another run, you know, because, well, just because they got to have somebody. And who better to run than the former vice president?
I'd like to see what the polls say, because it looks like Gavin Newsom is definitely running.
Yeah.
I don't know, this Pritzker guy, he thinks that he might be wanting to run. You've got Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have Kamala Harris throwing her name back in the ring. Buttigieg.
There you go. There's a piece of work.
So, you know, there's some names I think that you're going to see crop up on that side.
I haven't found any one of those that thrilled me too much.
Well, you know.
I'm kind of like sticking with Joe. I think I'll just stick with Trump.
Well, but, you know, Trump's one term. This is his second term,
that's right.
So he's going to be done.
Yep.
So then you're looking at J.D. Vance. You're looking at Marco Rubio.
Yep.
Those are some names I've heard.
Well, the fun part
Tim
of it,
Scott?
those are new guys. I mean, they're new and they're young, and you know, I think that's probably the future of the Republican Party, and it needs to be. We need new young people in all of these offices. I don't care whether they're national, state, or local, but if you look, there's a bunch of old guys, and I was one of them. But you know, it's a lot of times new, young, you know, perhaps different thinking, or more intensive, thought given to these kind of things that need to be taken care of. I think that's what we need. No, it's not more of the same old, same old. And that's what we've been experiencing, and that's kind of where I think the Democrat Party is. Well, it's always been this way in Chicago. We only kill 6 or 8 or 10 each weekend, and that's just the way it is, and we're just going to continue with that kind of management. No, you don't have to continue with that kind of management. You can elect somebody that really cares and intends to take care of business, and it's no longer business as usual. You can't kill 6 or 8 or 10 of your citizens every weekend and say, that's all right. They killed one less this week than they did last week. That's just dumb. But not according to the way those guys think.
Another report that's just coming out this morning is that wholesale inflation in August dropped. It was expected to have a 0.3% rise, and it actually fell 0.1%. And so what this does is if you catch it right there, I'll just read this quote to you. The Labor Department reported Wednesday that its Producer Price Index, which captures inflation in the supply chain before it hits consumers, showed that wholesale inflation decelerated in August after advancing 0.7% in July. Wholesale service prices fell 0.2% from July on smaller profit margins at retailers and wholesalers, which might be a sign that those companies are absorbing the costs of President Trump's sweeping taxes on imports. Excluding volatile food and energy prices, so-called core produced prices also fell 0.1% from July and were up 2.8% from a year earlier. The numbers were lower than economists had forecast. Wholesale prices can offer an early look at where consumer inflation might be headed. Economists also watch it because some of its components, notably measures of healthcare and financial services, flow into the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge, the Personal Consumption Expenditures, or PCE price index. The drop in producer prices makes it even more likely that a Fed will cut its benchmark interest rate next week for the first time this year.
Well, if those businesses can afford to take a little less money, and help hold inflation down, I think that's great. That's what everybody should be doing, but they have to make enough money to stay in business. But if they're absorbing some of those additional tariff costs, why, that's up to them. They know what they can charge, and and still maintain their business. So, I think that's, there was not too long ago we were talking about, these tariffs are going to kill everybody, and nobody's going to be able to afford to buy anything and all of that. Well, maybe that's not really true. So if that inflation report came in less than expected, that's a very good thing as far as I'm concerned.
And
if it causes, interest rates to go down a little, that's even better for a lot of folks that are trying to buy a house or even trying to, continue to make the mortgage payments on the current one, or maybe they can refinance, and get a little lower payment. But I know some folks have been priced out of the market even after they bought a house and were living in it. Interest rates kept going up, and taxes kept going up, and the insurance kept going up, and it priced them out of the market. And finally they had to sell a house and do something else. They couldn't afford to own their own home. So, if we can get that mortgage rate down, the interest rate down a little bit, maybe that'll encourage a few more folks to, start looking at buying a home. Because that's kind of the American dream, is to own your own home.
all we can do is hope that we keep the costs in control, and that's why I'm looking forward to on Monday hosting Karen Tyson right here to talk about how in Kansas we can hold the line on
Yeah.
on some of this and what the state can do to keep these exorbitant increases down. And
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, I look at what's being proposed even here locally, and I just think these aren't the people. This isn't where I thought these people were going when they said that they wanted to serve. And
Well, one of them had a slogan, I believe, that said, "No more new taxes. I will not vote for a tax increase."
yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. And this isn't just a tax increase. This is
Yeah.
massive.
Well, you know, and I don't know. I never did believe in that particular statement anyway, because, you know, government operation, whether it's local, state, national, or whatever, you know, their costs continue to go up just like everybody else's. You know, it don't make any difference, you know, whether you're a homeowner or whether you're, you know, running, have a government operation. You know, everything costs a little bit more, and you have to compensate for that by, you know, sometimes you have to have more money, but, you know, not, well, I don't know, but, you know, I mean, it's 6 of one, half dozen the other, but you can't expect to be successful by running a no more new taxes campaign. You could ask George Bush about that, because he found out that, you know, George H., he found out that, you know, he ran on that, and then lo and behold, when it come down to the end, he had to have more money, so he had to increase taxes.
Well, what he did is he compromised with the Democrats on a on a 1/10% of capital gains. Only the top earners even get that. But he didn't keep his word, and
Yeah.
they hung him on that. That's
Yeah.
one. I think that moment is when hyper-partisanship kicked in, because the Democrats were saying, "Mr. President, please work with us on that. We're just asking for this little this little piece, this little thing." And he relented. He said, "All right, I'll give in."
And that was it.
And that
That's
was the
all they
end of
needed.
bipartisanship.
Yeah.
Because then they ran and said, "He lied to you. He raised your taxes, and he promised." You were begging him to. You were asking him to.
Well, there's a good possibility they knew that was what they was going to do. That's the reason. It's just a little bit, you know. Kind of, it's not going to matter. It's just a little bit. Well, once he did that, then they brought all that up.
Oh, and so now that's why it's so hard to
Yep.
try to work across the aisle. Because, yeah, you may say,
Yeah.
I made a no new taxes pledge. First of all, don't make the pledge.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't know what could happen.
That's right.
And you may have to look at something. But looking at something on a mill or two is a whole lot different than 29 mills and a half-cent sales tax on top of that.
Yeah.
But no, I look forward to having Karen Tyson, and you're invited. It's a brown bag. You can go grab lunch, come in, and we're going to talk with Karen and let her have a chance to visit with you and tell you what their plans are in the Kansas Senate to try to keep your property taxes down. And this is something that I wrote about a few weeks ago, and Karen and I visited, and she said, "You're exactly right. You're exactly right. That if it's not happening at the local level, the state's going to have to step in and put some guardrails on."
Yep.
And that's what. And she's the one who was the leading advocate for the revenue neutral rates. You wouldn't even know about the proposal and the amount if she didn't and get it through the legislature that required them to send you a letter to tell you your taxes are about to go up and here's how much. And so kudos to her for
Yeah.
open government and making it shine in the sun so that people are aware of it.
Well, it should be really interesting, and I think, you know, folks that come will have an opportunity to ask questions or make suggestions. You know, I mean, you might have a
Yeah.
little different idea, that maybe tweak it a little bit, do this or do that or something. But, you know, I hope there's a good crowd, and and you know, she's making a special trip out here, and so it'll be very interesting. Glad that she's taking the time to come visit with us.
Yeah, I mean, she's in a powerful spot, the chairman of
Yeah,
the tax
You
committee
bet.
in the Senate.
You bet.
And to get her to come out here to Liberal and to visit with us and talk with us about the plans at the state level, you know, it's important.
Sure.
And so that's Monday, and that's going to happen right here at noon. So we invite you to come on down and visit with Karen Tyson, the Kansas Senate tax chair. That's about as high as it goes on
right.
elected office for
Yeah.
being able to direct
Yeah.
that. So we're excited to have her come.
I'm not sure who'd really want that job. Because you're going to catch one way or the other.
But but I think she's the right person to be doing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so we invite anyone in the public to come down and listen and share and discuss. It's an important discussion to have. So we have that because we've got to keep ourselves viable, and
Yep.
it's more difficult and more difficult with the way that things happen. Now, you know, the city kept their mill levy even. The school dropped 4 mills.
Mhm.
And I think the college is going to be flat. Their R&R was like barely a percentage, less than a percentage different from last year. So it's basically nothing.
Yeah.
Maybe even they, you know, will stay flat or drop it a little bit,
Yeah.
you know. So got to give credit where credit is due for people who are trying to toe the line and that.
Yep.
And I know each one's different, and there may be specific, unique challenges at the county. I'm not disputing that, and I'm not saying anyone at the county is not a good person. They're all employees trying to serve the public the best they can. There's just one difference from that organization to the 3 I mentioned is the other 3 have a financial officer. The city, the college, and the school district.
Yep.
And this county does not have a financial officer.
Yep.
And I think that's a key position. I know you didn't have one when you were there, but if you thought back, would you have added it?
You bet. You bet I would have. I never even thought about it until Commissioner Stanton mentioned it, and I thought, that's a great idea. I mean, you know, I never ever entered my mind to do that. Of course, you know, I mean, I guess I grew up with the system starting back in about 1980, you know, and the county clerk, you know, kind of took care of business and watched over the finances and, you know, one thing and another, and you know, it just grew slowly. But once he mentioned that, I thought that's a fantastic idea, because it's somebody that is wholly and solely dedicated to the job of seeing where the expenses were going, you know, what could be possibly reduced or cut, or, you know, whatever, or where we might need to spend a little more money here, or if we do this, we can, you know, improve things, make it more efficient. I mean, and that's that individual's duty every day, is to keep track of where the money's going or where it's coming from, and nothing else. And right now, you don't have that. I mean, it's, you know, well, what's that budget? Well, how much is it? Well, that's, you know, how come it ended up being that much? But, you know, a CFO can explain all that in a heartbeat, or should be able to anyway. And I think that's a really important position, especially when you're dealing in millions and millions of dollars, you know, tracking that, where it goes and what it's been spent for. I know when I was on there, I think I've told that story before, but I used to, you know, they used to get the vouchers and I'd go through them on the computer screen, and I'd go down through them line by line, and if I'd see one in there that I thought was a little questionable, I'd make a note of it. Sometimes I'd have 6 or 8 or 10, maybe 2 or 3, you know, and I'd go down to the clerk's office and say, okay, tell me what this is, you know, and give them the voucher number and all of that. And, okay, well, now I know, you know, but You know, from time to time, there's things that, you know, and then there's just normal things that, you know, that come every month and you pay it every month. But every once in a while there was something in there a little bit different. And so I'd make a note of it and go find out. And yeah, it was, you know, it was always interesting. Or I found it to be interesting. And of course, I'm kind of a numbers guy anyway. But, you know, I think it's important that they find a CFO as quickly as possible.
And I hope that when we see a proposal for next year's budget, maybe a CFO will be part of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I think that would be a positive.
Well, I'm kind of like Commissioner Stanton. I think probably that individual could pay their own way, you know, and the first year, and that kind of savings by just simply asking questions. Why do you need this? Why do you need that? Or, you know, maybe you need something to make it a little more efficient. Who knows? But I just think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and maybe that person would then say, okay, we've got some issues with our roads. Let's do some research and
Yeah.
figure this out and how much it's going to cost.
You bet.
And then we'll have some numbers. But we just came
Yeah.
up with a number, and now we're trying to come up with the problem to fix.
Yeah.
And we say, well, we got problems. Okay, I don't doubt that. I'm not doubting we have problems. What I'm saying is, where was the plan that showed me road XYZ needs this many miles that we're
Yeah.
not being able, road H, road Z, road B.
Yeah.
This one needs resurface. This needs this. This is how
Yeah.
much this costs. Here's the estimates on this. Here's
Yeah.
this. You know, now we're working on that.
Yeah, well, that's it, you know, I mean, just to say, you know, it's needed for roads, you know, well, what road and what's the estimate on fixing it, you know, and what does it need? Is it blacktop or is it, you know, a redo of one like they're doing out on, I think it's Road P, where they've went out there and you know, graded that thing up and put some kind of chemical on it that from my understanding they might not have to grade that but a couple of times a year. Well, gosh, you know, compared to a couple of times a week, that's a terrific savings in, you know, not only fuel but equipment wear and tear. And so, you know, but those are the things that a CFO can work with the, you know, the director at the road department and get a handle on. Well, how much is this going to cost? You know, in place of just saying, well, we just need, you know, half-cent sales tax to cover the cost of this. And I'm sure they've got some kind of an estimate or reason for that, but it hasn't been made too public as of yet.
Yeah. And there's still 2 months before. Maybe we can learn a lot in the next 2 months.
Yeah.
And we'll see. Well, we don't want to leave you without giving you your squeaky clean car wash weather report. Today's going to be sunny with a high near 89. South wind 13 to 16 miles per hour. Tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 63. South-southeast wind around 14 miles per hour. Gets up to 89. It's going to be a little humid out there today.
It will be.
So,
Will be.
just letting you know. Thursday, you're talking about a high of 93. Friday, 90. Saturday, 20% chance of rain, 86 degrees. Sunday, 20% chance of showers, 86 degrees. Monday, 86 degrees. Tuesday, 86 degrees. I think they just gave up at
There you go.
the National Weather
Computer
Service.
got stuck.
And just plug that in. It'll be close to 86 degrees. So that's your weather outlook, and that's the news and views you can use on the high plains. Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning with someone from the Seward County Community College to give you an update on what's happening out there. Until then, this is Roll the Leader in Times with Jim Rice saying when you live in Liberal,
Or Holcomb, Kansas.
there's no place like home. Have a great day, everybody.